I'm Steve Frank, and this is my safety story. My nickname at the plant is Happy because it's very seldom that they ever get me in a situation where I'm mad or upset. I've been in the power plants. I've spent 20 years working there, and the one thing I've learned whenever we tear into a piece of equipment is expect the unexpected. Day had started about like any other day at the power plant. There was an upset out in the coal yard. Station 3 had filled up with coal. Myself and the maintenance superintendent had agreed that we felt it was safe to go up to the upper level and observe that coal run. Sure enough, we did see the belt wasn't stretching up. So at that point, we knew what the problem was, and we yelled down to the operator that we could see the problem. And he came up and we told him what we had saw, and I'd even expressed at that point that I thought maybe a clearance permit was in order to tag that out and take it apart. And the operator said, well, he says, I think we can maybe air lance that out. And I had seen an air lance from an earlier trip into the station on the far side of the station, and I worked my way around through the station to that air lance, and then instead of trying to carry it back to them the way I came, I decided it'd be easier to go up over the pile and slide it down the pile to where they were at. There was such a pile of coal in there, I hadn't made many trips into Station 3 in my time at the plant, but it had really changed the lay of the land. 3 of the 4 feeders were completely buried under coal, and the footing was treacherous on that coal. When I get over there, I got the lance and climbed up on top of the pile and slid it down, and the landscape had changed from when I was in there earlier in the day. There was now a hole where all 4 feeders came together, and that was the coal that we had seen go up the belt. So I was working to try and stay away from that a little bit. After I slid the lance tube down to where they could get to it at the number 4 feeder, I started to turn around, and I can remember the coal, kind of a sinking feeling. And then I don't remember much after that until I was coming out of the coal shaper on the number 3 belt. And I remember I was looking at it, it was like coming out of a tunnel, and I was just momentarily confused. I couldn't imagine where I was at in the plant to see something like that. And then it hit me, I'm on the belt and it's running, and I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. It wasn't the belt that scared me, it was the thought of going down another set of chutes at the far end of that belt. What do I got to do to get off this thing? What do I have to do to stay alive, to get help? I know there's pieces of equipment up the belt line that hang down low, and if I stick my head up, I'm liable to get my head taken off. I got myself into a position staying low on the belt where I could watch for that trip cord. About every 10 feet, there's another steel support, and when you're moving at 10 miles an hour up a belt, those are going by at just an unbelievable rate. And I was yelling periodically for help because I couldn't see where I was in the tunnel, and I knew that there was a group up at the entrance to the tunnel. I'd made one attempt for that pull stop and was starting to get ready for another, and I heard Roger Connor at the mouth of the conveyor, and I don't think I'll ever forget his voice. I just heard his 2 words, "Trip it." And at that point, everything changed for me. I knew I didn't have to worry about trying to stop the conveyor. I knew Roger was going to be working on that, getting that conveyor stopped. And I just thought, I got to get Roger the time he needs to get this thing stopped. So I rolled onto my back and was looking at the steel overhead, thinking, okay, I'm going to have to grab that and just let myself drag on this conveyor until he can get it stopped. And then I felt the tension go out of the belt. I wasn't going to be injured any further. And once that belt came to a complete stop, I came crawling off of it. Looking back when I've been back up on the conveyor now and all the fire lines and stuff, it's pretty tight to get out of that conveyor, and I made it all by myself. I am a little bit afraid of heights, and I knew I was up probably 50 or 100 feet off the ground at that point, so at that point I became a little bit afraid of a fall. But I got off and got on the walkway and was starting to check myself off, and the guys from Station 3 had come up and were asking if I was injured, and I knew the adrenaline was still going, and I was like, boy, if I'm cut bad, may not be feeling that yet. But I had walked away from something that, looking back on it, I don't know how I walked away from that. I've always looked at safety as being the most important thing. we're all out there together in the power plant. We can take units offline if something's going wrong, and it's not worth putting someone in the line of fire, because anytime an accident occurs, we have really got to take those lessons to heart and learn from them. For people that aren't always familiar with the job site, those barricades and the JSA do become of vital importance. I owe a debt of gratitude to my co-workers that they were there to get the belt stopped and get me off of there. If I'd have gone down that second set of chutes, I would have been possibly killed. But I knew I had gone through something that is just almost unimaginable and not really gotten hurt at all, which was just an incredible feeling to be alive at that point.